morning, everybody. Glad to see that we're all here. I am here, Carol's here, Doug is here, Kurt's here, Emily's here, Kathy's here. Ryan is here. And Mr. Beaham's going to be here. And do we have anybody online right now?
Well, no, just us.
Okay. Kirk did send me his stuff, the goals and objectives for the committee. And he did send that to me Friday. I didn't get that out of you guys until last night, but
It's pretty much the same. I just tried to revise with some of the discussions that we had at the last meeting.
in addition, the other thing that we can add to this is that we did receive, and all committee members did receive a copy of a kind of a white paper on lobbying from our attorney.
Yes.
And which I thought was pretty interesting. And he basically said, as individual council members, we're allowed to lobby, but we are not allowed to represent the city unless it's through action of the council. And the same for a committee, a non-council person, committee person here, is that as an individual citizen, of course, anyone's able to lobby whoever they would like. But if you do, you can't represent it, you represent either the committee or the city. And so that was interesting to me and good to know, because knowing where the boundaries are is always helpful. Yeah. And I was hopeful Steve was gonna make it in. He might be a little bit later. I did get this. I did give everybody a copy of this graph. This is from a spreadsheet that Steve has, but I'm not sure of what the units are here. The the spreadsheet has one column in terms of cents per kilowatt hour. And then this column, this ECA column, I'm not sure whether that's a percentage or that there's some type of money.
Just looking at it, the vertical axis looks like it is cost cents per hour per kilowatt hours.
Cents per kilowatt. Well, he actually has a column of that, and then this is off of that. And so he's done some magic here, and I'm not sure what it is. Yeah, they should follow, the graph should look the same, right? I would believe, but it depends on what the actual math is if he's using to go from what he called the ECA from cents per kilowatt hour. But it gives us an idea, and I will correct that and eventually send that out to everybody. You know, that I go back to the spreadsheet and get and just use the cents per kilowatt hour columns and show what we've got since 2014. But then we did get some interesting things. We've got the Public Utilities Commission utility bill affordability discussion. We scheduled to is that tomorrow? Wednesday, or the 23rd. That's right. Wednesday, rescheduled to Wednesday. And it says that they're accepting written comments, but they don't say a deadline for that. So it probably, if you want written comments,
Get them in now.
yeah, probably the meeting is the implied deadline, but doesn't really say. And we received the article on what was going on with Mountain Parks Electric, that they're looking at pulling out of their, that's a cooperative, isn't it?
Yes,
Yes. Cooperative.
Where's that at, John or Emily?
it's the northern part of Summit and into Grand, and I forget if it goes into Jackson too. That's it.
Yeah.
Can I step back just a second on the ECA, just, everybody probably remembers, I think we've been over this, but a lot of times when Black Hills or XL adds a rider, the next rate case, some of the rider will then go into rate base. And that's why sometimes you'll see maybe it goes down or whatever, it's because it's now been shifted over to rates. So,
Gotcha.
I don't think that's true for the ECA.
isn't it?
That's just because it's a variable cost.
And you're right.
Yeah, it's a variable cost.
You're
It can't be-
absolutely right. Okay, never mind. Different writers.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Does your rate with that go quarterly or how?
Yeah, it's adjusted quarterly, and I believe I heard last week that they're going to do an intra-quarterly adjustment down on the ECA.
Like what Excel has been doing?
Correct.
Because of the cost of natural gas going down from what it had been at the peak.
Yeah, I believe I heard that last Wednesday
Yeah,
on a
that was,
regulatory
that
call.
was a question I was gonna ask you, because I'd read about that in the paper.
Mhm.
That Excel did that in November, and then they're doing it now.
Yeah.
Couple of times, so.
Well, you know, the utilities want to try and look as good as they can whenever they can.
So we've got the table here, John, maybe this will tell us. Right now, we've got showing that in 2022, the cents per kilowatt hour was 10 cents per kilowatt hour. Would that be, that's not a base rate or anything.
So that's what your base rate. The ECA is an individual line item. And I believe that that's what is represented on this chart, because I know that it's in the 5.5 or 6 cent range now. At least I believe it is.
Yes, that kind of lines up. So I think that what that means is this should be cents per kilowatt hour. The ECA is in cents per kilowatt hour.
Yeah, so it's the ECA charge, the ECA energy cost adjustment cents per kilowatt hour, correct?
The cents per kilowatt hour.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it correlates with the chart, in other words.
That would be, yeah, I haven't seen the chart, but. I don't have the chart. I don't think.
It's probably down there.
Oh, is there?
You got it right there, Frank.
Oh, he's.
No, I'm talking about the other. Yeah. The data.
You weren't on Steve's email.
Okay. Let's see. And I think that Bob may be here at 11. He had something going on this morning. Bob Stovall, he may come in. So let's look at the goals and objectives.
Excuse me, John,
Yes, sir.
who's Bob Stovall?
Bob Stovall is a community member. He was in Colorado Springs. He and his wife, Roseanne Gain, are pretty active in Rotary. Good morning. And he's on, what committee is he on?
Government affairs, I think they call it the Chamber of Royal Gorge Street Alliance. I think he's heading up that committee.
Legislative affairs for.
Yeah, he worked for the city of Colorado Springs for quite a long time. It's their legislative liaison.
Okay, so he would be coming in as a member of the Chamber of Commerce or whatever, whatever they're doing, and maybe do a little cross pollination or whatever. Okay. So back to the goals and objectives. Hopefully everybody's had a chance to look at that. Any comments or thoughts on what we've got? So this is to give us a little context here. This is something that we would take to city council and say, hey, city council, this is what we think our charter really encompasses. And so, you know, we've got there's a lot of things on here. Some of this is really would not be things that that it would seem to me that we would run so much as maybe ask the city to do. Like the city website, city social, I don't know the first one, I guess I'm self-reference, those things. City website, city social media emails. That would be something the city would do. You know, what if we wanted to ask the council for for us to be able to do something there, what would be that?
Can I bring something up right here? What I thought we need to do to expand upon these goals is something like we did in the master plan update. I'll just pass
Oh,
this around.
yes, I know what you're talking about.
Where it talks about, you know, who's the lead to do that?
Uh-huh.
You know, the priority of it, the ease of it, maybe a timeline. Then if there's partners, I'll just pass this around so that you can take a quick look at it. Not all of those columns, I don't think would be applicable for what we're doing here, but I think some of the, you know, who the partners might be, you know, who, if there's a city department or if there's another organization in town that would be a partner. And maybe some timelines so that you have a little bit of an idea.
So if there was a place for the chamber or something, we'd add that in there or something like that.
Yeah, you know, just taking a look at all of these different goals and objectives that we have and just identify. Like if you're talking about the, for instance, number one with identifying methods to communicate, well, you've got the city website, city social and emails from the city. Probably be whoever's in charge of the city website, you know, that would be the department that would be helping to handle that. And, you know, the bi-yearly report, I can't remember if that was that the water?
The water conference report.
It's down below.
Okay, I just wrote down from the last one, bi-yearly report, and I don't know if that was stormwater, if it was water, or if there's such a report.
Stormwater does quarterly newsletters. And I believe those go into the water bills. Yearly report.
And if that's not an accurate one, I can just get rid of that one too.
Are you talking, Kurt, from from a bi-yearly report from the city? Or from this committee, or what?
Something that already exists. I was thinking that I heard something.
So we could tag into it if we wanted to get out like rebate programs or something that way, or energy efficiency program. Anything that would help to get the word out
To communicate.
to customers, because we all know they may pick and choose as to what they read and just
Sure.
get it
Sure.
more often. If I'm remembering correctly,
Just for clarity.
and it'll be rolled into the rate.
Yeah, we titled this, and if I remember correctly, goals and objectives for Black Hills Energy Option. The theoretical concept is that there might theoretically be multiple options, and this is just in regard to Black Hills. Is that, am I remembering that right? Thanks.
And that would actually, what I foresee, and I'll just, is that you would have a short description of Black Hills services that, you know, that we have right now, which I gave the copy, and I've got a revised copy that I'd like to bring back at the next one that we could take a look at that plus the goals. And then there's something about the cooperative option that will be included with that. And then lastly, after the meeting after the next, I'm putting together a summary of what the steps might be if you wanted to try to municipalize. And then we would have, you know, goals after that we would talk about, that would go to the council. So that's kind of how I foresee it, that they would have a document that they could go through. It would be a little different than what we did last time, you know, it'd be more specific into here's some potentials and here's what we would need to do, and here's, you know, then they would have to determine, you know, is this something that, and try to identify all the different steps that might need to be made. Without going into all the really nitty gritty details, but just trying to keep that into a big picture type of report.
So with C and D, what does that have to do with energy?
What it has to do with energy is, just like we said here a couple minutes ago, we're looking at sources that the city has access to that we could possibly get communication out about different issues.
So the way that I look at this list,
Yes.
this is the how. This is the how, it doesn't answer the what, okay? If we look at this list, what this has is this has a bunch of specific actions. Okay, build out existing neighborhoods. Encourage specific areas for higher density options like sustainable housing. Develop housing types that are accessible and affordable. Those are all things that tasks the city can accomplish, okay? Now, how you do it is a question, and this is useful in that this does list the hows for us, or that the methods that we've got as a city and potentially as a committee to communicate. But what we need to do is this is good, this is one step, this is one column on this thing, but there's a column in front of it, which is the what. This is the how, we need the what we're going to communicate. So that's part of what we're looking at here. Because these are all good things, and these are things that we may want to ask city council, can we have access to? We have something we want to communicate, and these are ways that we can communicate whatever that is.
In addition to that, you would select which one would be appropriate for different information to go out.
Sure.
You know, so you would categorize it, you wouldn't just send out any information, just maybe just one source. You would pick out, well, this source of sending information out would be good for this topic. And this source will be good for this topic. So you would get down, that's where you really get down more into the how do you do it, and what are we gonna do with
And
how
one
we
of
want
the-
to come together.
And Doug, what would accomplish is trying to, we can utilize, depending on weight of the mail or whatever, you can utilize the existing postage to be able to get out a different message. So it might be an insert in the deal, or it might be if it's going out by email, just an extra tab or something that way, just to let people know what else is going on, even though it might not be water or sewer specific.
Because in Kansas City, we had a board of public utilities that handled electric and water. And they allowed organizations in the city to put little flyers in, you would have to cover the cost of the flyer and bring it over to the utility, and then they would put it in their monthly bill. You know, it doesn't, with people that get electronically, it doesn't go to them, but you're still gonna reach quite a few people.
So if we were to make a matrix like this, what we would do is we would take number 2. Okay, and say, we want to do, these are topics we want to communicate. Here's the how in number 1. Okay, and then when, and all that we can be answered, but that's kind of how I see that we will end up doing something like this. And so this really up here, number 1 is the how, but then down below it, we do have the what.
Yeah.
Select methods. Well, it's not necessarily select the method. I mean, that's part of the process that we would work on. But we believe that one of our goals could be to communicate Black Hills Energy programs that are available to customers. That would be a goal, and then we say who, what, when, how. Okay. This would be the what, select methods, we don't need to select the methods, we've got those above.
Yeah,
Right?
I just didn't get that.
Yeah, so really what we want to say is we want to communicate, provide information about Black Hills Energy programs that are available to customers, communicate state and federal programs from Colorado Energy Department available to our local residents. That's kind of a given. We're not necessarily going to be talking to the fountain, investigate and identify So maybe investigate is something that we could take on, but once we conclude the investigation, then.
Or maybe just identify, at this point, just identify
Sure.
and leave the investigate, because then
Okay.
once you have that identified it, you can go and see if it's, then you do your investigation.
You have their. Identify.
Yeah.
Okay. The, are you ready for us to sign homework, Brian? I think this kind of comes with the territory, city staff discussions with Black Hills Energy about rates. You know, there's. I don't think that there's an opportunity for staff to discuss rates with Black Hills in any forum except to share information, you know,
Right, yeah, I don't, kind of like on the wheel.
right?
Well, speaking of homework, we did actually add a page to the city website for public assistance, so having see what we did here. Atmos Energy Bill Pay Assistance, yeah, Energy Outreach Colorado, so we've got links to all those different things along with
Great.
other programs, you know, just WIC and other social assistance programs. So we've created a page on the website for that, so that's already.
Does the city have a weatherization, or is that a county issue, or
No.
any type,
Black Hills.
just Black Hills, okay?
There is weatherization programs from the state, though, isn't that?
We could add that to the page.
That might not hurt,
I think
because
somebody in the Springs administers that, and then they would come out.
Yeah, and for the most part, what we're doing is, short description, link to that.
Yeah,
other program.
yeah,
yeah.
We
perfect,
don't want
yeah.
to
Right. No,
Try and manage all of that.
no.
That would be something good to publicize for the city, that you created such a site like that. That's really good information, Ryan.
Yeah, so we'll finalize that and then we can start publicizing it.
That'd be great.
Oh,
So should I leave the A under 3, just take that out?
in other words, quit clicking the thing.
I mean, we could word differently, but I
Yeah, how-
think it should be included, I would think.
You know,
Just
John,
discussion.
didn't you guys just put out, seems to me I heard it, either read it or heard it on the radio this last week about cost saving measures that the homeowner can do.
Mhm.
I mean, there was quite a list. Did you folks put that out?
Yeah,
I would
we've-
imagine you did.
Yeah, we've been doing quite a bit, both on radio and print advertising about energy efficiency programs and opportunities.
I know that Black Hills probably has their media group to where they pick the radio stations and stuff. Do you ever do it? I hate to say it, but I don't listen too often to KTR. Do you advertise on the local radio?
It's on whatever iHeartRadio is here.
Okay,
Yeah, that's where it's advertised.
okay, so we don't get it.
Or you should have,
Well, it depends on if your radio brings it in, like mine won't, but.
Most days.
Anybody introduce the new team that was on the radio, the new team of kind of community representatives, the guy and the gal,
oh,
a bunch of
the
months ago.
team ready, I think they're called, yeah.
Yeah, that was on Carol.
Yeah.
That was in Crosstalk, so I didn't get, but let's go back to number 3. What we're, we as committee members, and I think our citizens are concerned about rates. But what discussions or under what forum can we have discussions with Black Hills about rates?
If they're just general discussions, I would think. then you can- Not like we're negotiating them.
No.
Discussing it.
Well,
And just make sure that citizens understand, how those rates are established and what they mean to your bottom line. Too, so that almost would be a part of communications, to me anyway.
Well,
And that would be,
that's
through city council.
different. That's different. Communicating to the public about how rates are set and rate structures and all that.
But this is staff.
Complex world,
oh, well,
is a different thing than discussing rate relief options with Black Hills.
Well, I just don't see anybody having any teeth to do that, except maybe city council staff.
That's my point.
Yeah,
That's my
yeah.
point. If it's not anything that we can do, or that we have a forum to make use of, what would be our goal there?
Our only goal is to let them know what programs are available to help them, people save money,
Them being the public.
them being the public.
Sure. And
But
yeah, I'm good with that, you know.
that's the only thing I can think of.
We just talked about it in the meeting today.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. It's just.
We just
discussion.
talked about it with John.
Yeah.
We're talking about having a reduction in their,
ACA.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so.
well, then I would phrase this differently.
City
Yeah.
discussions.
So I would say this
Discussions.
discussion with Black Hills for,
Make it more general.
maybe, yeah, general
Yeah.
citizen. Yeah,
Cost issues.
discussions and information sharing with Black Hills about rates, right? I mean, that's but although we can, point is if we're gonna put it in a matrix like this, we gotta say when, what, and who. Okay, and so just ongoing discussions probably don't belong in this.
that's what I
because,
was,
you know, that's not, that's part of what we do.
right.
I mean, ongoing discussion is part of what we do, but if we're gonna have an action item, we've got to be able to identify the action we want to accomplish.
And the general public, if you're gonna have this. The general public needs to understand what in the world you're talking about. We've been meeting for a year and a half here. And the public doesn't have the benefit of that.
That's true, but that's part of what this is intended to do, is to identify what we need to do to be able to communicate either with the public, with the council's blessing, or through the council, or through the city, however, about some of these complex issues, because they are complex, and it does take a little while to start, you know, understanding and getting your hands around everything, which I'm not sure I would say I'm in that boat, yeah.
And Doug, in reference to what you're saying, this is specifically if we have Black Hills as we maintain them as our provider.
Exactly.
We're just looking at those issues, nothing else as far as any other alternatives. This is
Right.
just, you know, with what the service that we have now.
Right.
Okay.
I would suggest that you use the word bill reduction or bill relief, because rates refers
point.
specifically to the cost of a kilowatt hour of energy, and all the other riders that are on there equal more than the cost of the kilowatt, or equal, or approximately equal to.
Yeah,
Bill relief, yeah.
That's a good idea.
but I still, my question is, what is it that we want to do? Okay, what is the action item we're gonna do here?
I see this as an ongoing need. In
Well,
other words,
but
well,
that's-
let me reverse that and just say, if we take this out, to me,
Mhm.
it implies that we just don't talk with Black Hills anymore about these issues. And that doesn't make sense to me. It seems like we would always want to do that. You know, we want to say things like, gosh, that all the households that received relief for most of last year. This is from Energy Outreach Colorado, over $35,000 was
Yeah.
paid to relieve Black Hills bills. Compare that, 35,000, to only 2,000 paid to relieve Atlas Energy bills. So it just seems like it's a topic of discussion. And why would we take it out? I just think that's an ongoing.
So we do have our charter. And we're to review, evaluate, and make recommendations concerning energy options for the city. Okay, options and opportunities. And so I'm not sure that if the committee would like to have a placeholder in what one of our goals or objectives is ongoing discussions with Black Hills about bill reduction rather than rate review. We should tell council that's what we want to do. And then have them say yes or no.
I thought that's what we're doing here in
That's
this,
what-
in this exercise with the
yes.
goals and objectives.
Right.
It's not us. This is just
Yes.
proposed, and if the council wants to say no, then we just don't do it.
Right.
I'm trying to, I've been sitting here listening and I'm trying to figure out, getting back to just getting the notification about the ECA probably gonna go down. Oh, what, if we hadn't had this meeting this morning, when would we have heard this? And so what I'm thinking is there a way to where when you get hints that this is gonna happen, to let somebody at the city know that, and I don't know what the hell we're gonna do with it, but it's one of those.
Full of communication triggers.
Yeah,
Really, is what we're talking
Yeah, exactly, just to give us a heads up of something. And like I have to say, I don't have a clue what we would do with it other than this community, this group right here at the moment, but I think it's helpful to be able to. Answer community questions that we as individuals might get or something.
And what John might have some restrictions on that too, as far as.
Yeah, letting us know, yeah.
You know, it gets filed at the PUC.
Yeah.
Once the PUC approves it, then we advertise it in the newspaper, just like we do any of those other adjustments.
Right,
But certainly would be happy when it's formalized to pass that information on to the city.
When you can
Okay.
release-
When we can say it.
I have a different view of that, or a different take on that, John. What my take is that what part of what we're trying to do is to communicate to our citizens. Okay, and that's what we're talking, that's what we're going through this, is trying to figure out how to do it and what it is we want to communicate. But when Black Hills submits that to the PUC, that's actually a good thing to let our citizens know about, because as citizens, we have the opportunity to comment. And so so I understand from Black Hills perspective is that you don't want to be saying, hey, this is a sure thing, you know, or this is coming or whatever, because it does have to be approved by your regulatory
Right.
agency. I understand that, but nonetheless, when you know that we have filed something, that would be entirely appropriate for us to be able to
Make comment.
communicate, comments perhaps, and
and put it just on the webpage if nothing else, just to have that under the,
general heading.
yeah.
Now, would we need to follow the PUC for rate? Or would we get that review once you submitted that, the rate case to?
Well, now see, are we talking, I don't know, we're talking two different things.
Well, with any kind of adjustment like this, when they're sending information to the PUC,
Yeah,
at that point, are we gonna need to watch what goes into the PUC so that we know? Or does Black Hills tell us that they're sending? See what I'm saying?
The thing is I don't think he could even tell us that he's sending it because he doesn't know that it's gonna be approved.
Well, so what we're saying,
Not necessarily true. I would think that's not necessarily true. I would think that if Black Hills chose to, which is the choice on their part, they could notify us, or they could send. And as a matter of fact, I think part of our franchise that was not approved covered that situation. Black Hills was required to send us, notify us or rate.
seem to remember something being in there.
And so that's the question. In
With the general public, would it not raise more questions when we got answers? Because the general people or the citizenry here in Canyon City has no, I would suspect, has no idea of a lot of the terms and the acronyms and everything that we use here.
Well, so I think the answer to that, Doug, is that can be a potential problem that you have to be aware of and be ready to deal with in some way. And one of the ways that we could do that when we're talking about all these communications methods, and the city already has something, is that we could actually, that if we finalize some of our papers, we could put those on the website, or ask the city to place those on the website, because council can tell Ryan to put them on, or whatever that chain is there. And so that if people, if we do put notices of a rate case or cost adjustment or whatever that may be affecting our individual energy bills, electric energy bills, people have a way then to find out what that means and to be able to put that in context for themselves. And we really want to, the papers that we have are lengthy and cover a lot of information. We may want to distill that down to some bullets. As the electric bills for dummies or something like that,
Yeah, like a frequently asked questions or a certain sheet of terms or something along those lines. This committee does have a webpage on the city's website, so if there are, if you want final reports posted there, they're obviously posted to the meetings that they were brought to city council, but we could post those and house those on this page as well.
That would be great. That would be a good way to start. But that's part of the purpose of this, is because I think we need to get some final position or final, frequently asked questions or whatever, that we can then share with the citizens, to help them understand what is an exceedingly complex issue.
Putting it in my dummy terms, basically, if people are interested in the bottom line on their bill. So if you're looking, if you're sitting there saying, okay, Black Hills is looking for a 3% increase. If that creates, you might put a bullet or two down as to, okay, this is what they're saying as to why. But the main thing is just to let people know what's coming ahead of the time or potentially coming ahead. And especially if there's by some chance that something's gonna go down like a rider or something that way, I think it just gives them more information. If they want to delve into the weeds, then they can go from there and start looking up the Black Hills stuff. But I think just giving them the heads up on the bottom line, I think would have some positive impact one way or the other for the general public. So that's kind of my take on it.
So to generalize that a little bit and step back, what I think I'm hearing is that I think that and tell me if I'm going wrong here. But I think that what we're saying is that as a committee, that we need to be able to do that work. This is not something we say, oh, Ryan, we want this, please assign somebody to go do it. I think this is something we have to do, that we provide to the city, that is essentially,
Just didn't put this on. And so,
depending on what kind of approval process we have to go through. Because we have to consider that, whether the council has to smile and nod or not, or whatever,
Well, in essence, the energy committee is like a partner to the city council. I mean, we're a partner and we can be identified as a partner to do some of these, some of the tasks.
yeah, see what our.
Yeah, we could be, and that would be, and so that's part of what we need to capture. What, what the boundaries.
And what the city council wants.
Yeah. Yeah.
These are some options.
We're asking for input.
Yeah, these are some options. What do you think?
Yeah, if this, like, we'd like to have this on our electric franchise page, do we need to go to council all the time, or as we as a council, as a committee, we have the approval to just go ahead and put that in? Because we've all vetted what we think is important.
And so yeah, exactly. And, the council could authorize Ryan, for instance, to be the valve there and say, yeah, well, it's good, or no, I think you need to work on this or whatever. That's one way that we could, perhaps propose that we do this. Because in my mind, that's the goal here, is we're trying to communicate to the council what we think our mission is and how we can accomplish it. And get their sign up. And say, yeah, do that, or don't do that, or do more of this, or whatever comes.
So to use a term of somebody else who I don't recall at the time, I'm a simple man with an old brain. And I guess, you could try anything, and then if it doesn't work, you don't
Exactly.
continue to use it.
Right.
If
It's
it
a
causes
pencil.
more confusion than it does answer questions, then we just continue trying.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it's silly to keep doing something over and over again the same way and think the results are gonna be different.
Just
So,
because
yeah,
we said we were gonna do it.
Right.
If the citizens show up with tar and feathers, you know, we cross that line.
We know at least they read the damn paper.
That's right, that's right.
Like co-op municipal systems handle this. I mean, their people have to be informed, so that they know how to vote or who to vote for on a board or something like that. So, they have the right to know, and our people, in spite of the system we have, should have the right to know what's going on too.
So,
Even if they can't understand.
Well, remember too, that the members, which are the customers, also vote for their board members. And the board members are still the ones that know everything or need to know. So the individual doesn't always need to know.
Right.
It's just that they put their trust in the fact that they voted for a
In
representative.
a general way, they need to know what that person
well,
is.
but sure, but I think Carol brings up a good point. And that is that the way that the co-ops would do it would be generally through their website.
Yeah,
I mean, and that is something that we could take on as a task and say, let's look at the co-ops websites and look at their paradigm, at how they approach notifying their owners of, issues.
good point.
I imagine we'll find, or we will find a lot of variation. I'm reminded of the struggles that Sangre de Cristo is going through right now, where there's a large community group that's kind of gotten involved because the co-op was proposing a substantial increase in the base rate without explaining why or talking about options or involving the customers. And on the other hand, I'm sure there's other co-ops that do a good job of that communication. So sometimes you don't find out if you have good communication until like I said, until it goes down.
Until the horses escape.
Yeah, yeah. So there's still, that issue in electing different board members over time.
So how do we determine and who determines what goes on our website as to the information that's put out?
That's what we're just
So
discussing.
that's really the general topic here. Because we can't do it. Council and Ryan together, or a council have to be the ones that say, to smile and nod and say, yeah, do that, or don't do that, or do more of this, or whatever.
Or
Okay,
sit there and say,
so that-
Ryan has got the final say.
That's kind of what we're doing, is a roadmap for council.
Yeah.
To say, here's how we view it. And, this is what we want to accomplish. And one of the things we're saying we want to accomplish is to be able to communicate with the public about some of these issues and make sure that, maybe we want to work on frequently asked questions or something like that.
May I make a suggestion?
Sure.
So, first of all, we do try and, especially with Ryan and with the council, and we do try and send out things that we think are important, that we know is, will catch your attention for some reason. That Julie has a distribution list, she does that with. However, you can create an account on the PUC website. I was just interacting with our regulatory team. The city can create a PUC identity and account, and then create notifications, so you're notified about whatever it is we have in filings. So you can actually have those notifications pushed out to you from the city's perspective. But what I really was thinking about is, since we had gone through challenging times with the city of Pueblo, we've made a point of showing up to council meetings, work sessions, and otherwise more frequently to explain topics, things of interest. And so we are probably on the agenda at least twice a year. And so I would recommend that, because those are public meetings and because those are recast, that might be an avenue where, we can kind of address some of the hot topic issues or some of the questions, and then council has an opportunity to all hear at the same time. And so it's just a thought. I know this is also a public meeting, and we've covered a lot of ground here in the last 2 years. But it's just a way to maybe condense that information if there's an interest in that. So I just thought I'd offer that to this group.
Well, it's another timeline too, because people right now may be at work, but they may actually zoom in or attend a meeting that in a different time frame. So that's a good point. It's just another opportunity.
Our problem is that we as a council really don't have enough time to hear all the stuff that we really need to hear. And to get stuff scheduled is on our agendas, either general government or vision committee or actually to council is difficult because there's a lot of topics that council is trying to deal with. That's not to say I don't want to do it. I mean, that sounds really great and I would even modify that a little bit. And say if we're thinking about something like that, it should be the energy committee that's sitting right there beside Black Hills, the presentation to council and say, and by the way, here's what we've been doing. Something like that, but the forum then becomes a forum question. Those are
high perch.
it gets tougher then.
Sure.
Speaking of committee meetings, does the energy committee want to be on one of those committee meetings here in the spring? Because as we start to book those out, those slots start filling up here.
General government revision. Yes,
Yeah. Lock that in.
yeah, and if nothing else, maybe what we want to present is this.
Yeah, that's,
And say, here's
You'll have to refine by then.
yeah.
here's what we want to do.
Well, just the communications piece alone
Sure.
would be great to present to council and say, what do you think?
Yeah,
And, if they are going to want editorial, rights to what we put on the website every time, or if they just say, no,
Yeah.
here's the general thing we want you to do, go for it.
Right.
Yeah.
well, so good. That actually gives us a way to, to get this in front of council. So let us know.
March 8th or March 22nd.
Let's see, what's today?
So none of that matters.
I push back a little bit later.
You can push it further if you want.
Well, I mean, not the 8th of March, but
22nd.
22nd.
Second.
Think we can meet for 22nd. Well, let's do our best to meet it and see where, we should be. Well, yeah.
Well,
but I'd like
you're-
to also
you're,
give them
yeah,
some written stuff that they can look at too.
yeah.
Sure.
And then talk about some of the goals, but I think by the March 22nd, now what's the deadline, Ryan, as far as getting information to you?
Friday, Thursday before, Wednesday before.
It's,
Hold on, it's the next.
it would be due March 10th.
March.
That would be, when do we have our first meeting in March here for the energy committee?
After that.
Is it after that?
Is it?
Yeah, Mark.
March 13th.
I
Okay,
have
okay.
a car in the garage, so he's after me. Consistently here. Hello. Yeah.
So if, we could push the deadline to March 13th. Or maybe the morning of the 14th.
Which would be right after our meeting.
Yeah, that's.
Because that might give us that extra meeting to.
Yeah.
To take a look at what we, to finalize it. That would help out.
Yes.
Yeah. Did I miss something? Single? Okay. We gotta get a job, 4 struts.
I don't want this.
Okay. So, all right. Have we got enough, you think you have correction on 3?
I just basically put, discussion and information sharing of bill relief. And leave it more generic and then front discussion with Black Hills for any potential bill relief options.
Okay.
That way.
Okay. Local government involved in PUC issues that impact electrical rates. So we've already heard a method that we can do something.
We could put that as, instead of identifying any hearings, we could just put what John says, create an account with the PUC
Yes,
for rate notifications.
yes.
So John,
And then I would just say, Barry, if you have questions about what those filings mean, just call me. I'll be happy to be that conduit. Because honestly, I don't know what we're filing all the time.
sure,
Sure.
there's no way you can.
Yeah. Brian, would we need city council approval for you to have Christie do something like that for us? You could just ask her to do that, couldn't you?
To set up an account,
Yeah,
no, you don't need a council.
we don't need a council approval for that. And that's, so speaking of homework, would you please set something like that up? And then we can take credit for it. Because we told.
We're
him
so
to do
good
it.
at delegating.
Because we told him to do it.
Thank you for that information.
Yeah, that's sure idea.
Is that just on the,
PUC website.
is
Yeah,
it
you just-
on the hearings page, or is it?
I think it's just on their general energy page.
Yeah.
And then you create an account
That
and then
Dell
you
that
select
you-
what
That
notifications
Dale
you want.
Warner's probably can tell us, you do run into issues.
I should do it for myself, actually.
Next one, number 5, Kansas City work with local communities to service of Black Hills at PUC. And we're talking about creating a network with communities. And so I myself think this is a good idea. And I think this would be important for us to do. But this is something that council has to be right in the middle of. So, but that's our suggestion, is that Canyon City, whatever that means, whether that means council directly or whatever council might like to set up there, but I think that would be something for instance, one of the things that we as a committee can do to kind of granularize that a little bit is say, develop a list of communities that can be contacted. I mean, the work with and exactly what the details of that are to be determined, but knowing who and how to get in touch with them would be something we could sure do.
And I can send you the list of communities that we serve again. I'll send it to Ryan.
Okay. Great. Canyon City work with, let's see. Then 6, Canyon City work with other communities to develop state legislation. So we've identified the rules already. We know what the rules are.
But if you're gonna do any lobbying, you need to have a city council to.
Yeah, absolutely.
So maybe the part about if lobbying required, city council needs to approve each case that you're trying to lobby. Or, something to
Yes.
that effect, because we already know what the rules are.
And so the question is, for council, does council want to appoint a representative? Or a committee or whatever to take on that task and organize that. Because that would involve contacting the communities and seeing where there are coincidences, of interest, and having to feed back that information pretty much real time with council. If council used that model where there was a person or committee that worked on those issues. I think.
Yeah, I like what you're saying, if they want to delegate it to get an opinion or a recommendation for someone else about what they might do.
And that gets cumbersome, because really for council to speak through an individual or individuals is, there needs to be a lot of feedback there and understanding and approval and all that kind of stuff. That makes it.
Yeah.
No, I know that Mayor Smith testified, I think, to a legislative committee a year and a half ago or something regarding
Yep.
community choice energy. Do you know what process she went through so that she was representing the city? Do you know? I don't.
So she had comments that I forget if council reviewed. I think it was,
I feel like there was a letter of support that went to council, and then she read the letter of support at the hearing.
yeah, I think that's incorrect.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there, we've done something like that before. The other one there, contact the Chamber of Commerce about hosting the legislative hour, and that was hopefully part of what we talked to with Bob Stovall
About today.
and he could be not here until 11:15 or so. So we'll see, hopefully he can get here, but I think that,
And I don't know if you want to add the end of that, the end part, and ask if city or energy committee could present about electrical issues. I don't know if you want to bring that up, or if that's too much to.
no, I like the idea.
Okay.
I like the idea, but it's the cumbersome part of it again.
Yeah.
You know, how we get approval for that, but if they wanted to, if the Chamber Alliance wanted to present a legislative hour or even a citizens, informational thing about, energy issues or something,
Just to see if they might be part of number one of
Exactly.
the communication network that you could utilize with different issues.
gotcha, right?
Should I just put that up there as a, well, I guess.
No, this is a
Yeah.
specific item. This is actually an action item. And so I think this is, we make this is one of our action items that we
Okay.
want to accomplish. We want council to sign off or do whatever they're gonna do.
That could go under your speakers bureau thing up in number 1. Kirk.
Okay, the next one, investigate potential of community solar. Identify, evaluate Black Hills request for proposals. For community solar projects from private businesses to see if the city can benefit from these projects.
I can make a comment about that.
I was
So,
trying to capitalize what you were
yeah, so
talking about.
I have a link that I want to share that you can see like this most recent bid. So you see what was submitted, just so you have an idea.
Okay.
And then I would actually go as far as saying, if the city has an interest in talking to the developers, I'm happy to make those introductions. So, lots of developers choose to bid into those projects. They're not always going to bid into one or the other, but it's a pretty small group of players. And so I'm happy to make some introductions through Devin Mueller, who's our renewable energy manager. Just so you all have a name and a face, and they know that you're willing and interested in being a part of their bids when they bid it. But let me see if I still have this link handy.
So when we subscribe to the solar garden that we've got,
Then we've got two.
we've got two, those were just commercial opportunities presented to us. Did we put up money for those? No. Did we put a plan for either of them? We may have put a plan for the first one.
Feel like one of them may have participated in land. Can't remember.
Land,
It may be adjacent to city owned land. But Rick, I know Rick has had conversations with solar providers about city owned land, and when I was the economic director, I had conversations with vendors as well, but I'd have to go back and double check it, I can't remember exactly where those two were located.
and so so there's really. So there's Black Hills that contracts with a solar garden provider, constructor, general contractor, however you like to look at it, but that solar garden provider can enter into agreements, commercial agreements with others. And so the question is, are commercial agreements available to us that that's as us being the city, that we could participate in when we get a breakdown in the rates, which is what we did with the first one and with the second one too.
So John Beal.
Yes.
Just to clarify, are we talking about different kinds of solar projects? I'm just not clear.
Yes.
The subscribe type one, but is what the city, what Black Hills is bidding out periodically, that's a little different, isn't it?
No, that actually is what we're bidding at. Those
Oh.
solar projects that you all have been off takers on. We are, through our res plan, we build out so much, that's how we're building out solar per se. As part of our plan to do these community solar gardens. And so we bid those projects out. We don't build them ourselves. And then people bid into those projects. And I think in our most recent res plan, which you all were part of, I think those are almost exclusively now focused on income qualified, but I can't recall for sure. I'd have to go back and look at what's proposed, but I think that's the case now. So they're really highly focused on helping folks with, you know,
But they're all subscriber type projects.
correct.
And at the same time, Black Hills, what's Black Hills piece of it? You get credit because it's part of your system?
We have to bid those projects. They go they're part of, you know, the energy mix, if you will. So they're helping us to achieve the carbon emissions reductions, remain 30% renewable at a minimum, you know, with the red standard for the state. But that's some of the functions that they provide.
But in the past, primarily, those are industrial, large scale subscribers that
They're anywhere from 500 kilowatts to 2 megawatts.
So how will you identify the income qualified ones? Will you go through your records or how?
So there's been a couple of different things that has been done. One of those has been that a lot of times if it's you know, it's the developer who does the identification, and so they'll work with a housing authority and they'll give direct bill credits to housing authority clients. That's been done in Pueblo. I don't want to just know there's some innovative stuff in this most recent one that's been proposed that I think you'll all be very excited about. But I don't want to steal their thunder, and there's still some negotiations to finish. So,
Okay.
but I guess my point in sharing that link with you is so that you can start to think about how the city might be able to, if for these developers, it's all about the cost, right? All about the cost of development. So if the city partners in some way to help bring that cost of the project down, i.e. giving away land or providing low lease options or something, that helps them provide a bigger discount to those that are off takers.
Okay.
So it's just one more way to try and participate in the process.
But so to look at the whole thing here, Black Hills contracts with a solar garden provider that builds something. And those costs are paid by Black Hills.
No, they build it. They have investors typically.
Okay.
And so they build it. We're just,
sign a power purchase.
Yeah,
agreement.
yeah, and for us, it's actually just. It's part of our energy mix. It's what's providing service to our customers.
Okay.
So would that be the kind of thing like electrical vehicles? Certain people get benefit of it and we all pay?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that was my question too. If they don't get enough subscribers of a low income what do I want to say? To qualify.
If
as
they don't
a
have enough income
spokesperson,
qualified customers,
then that the rest of that power just goes into the system to sell the rest of it.
they're required. They
Oh,
have to
okay.
figure that
All
out.
right,
They have to figure that piece out.
all right.
For
So
what
in
the
other words,
generator-
if they can't find enough people that power, I mean, this it just sits there till it's.
Oh,
till it's
They don't,
subscribed or
they
it's
won't,
sold.
they won't build it until they
Oh,
have.
I see. Oh, they build it and they have to come before you build it.
Yeah,
They will
we signed up well before they.
Yeah, so that's the big thing. They want to know the way this model works. They have to secure their off takers so they know what their price of what they know what their cash flow looks like.
Okay.
So,
I
yeah,
see.
that's why they really do like cities and counties and housing
Yeah.
authorities,
They know
because
we're
they
gonna
know that you're gonna pay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why there's a challenge with individual subscriptions,
Right,
because
right. Okay, I see what, I get it now. You see that light bulb, ready kilowatt just turned on over on my head?
as an LED.
So it's not.
Still-
a field during.
so I can share with you conceptually, one of the things that we have talked about is Black Hills Energy being the off taker. And then providing those subscriptions to individuals. That's the way we could help the developers get comfortable with individual subscriptions. So that they know that we're going to pay, and then we are providing a direct bill credit.
To answer the question about the solar field here in Canyon, it did go on private property. It was adjacent to a city lot, and we had talked to them about putting it on a city lot, but the private property was a much larger parcel, and that's what they ended up going with
So it cost them a little bit more.
So in a situation like that where you go on private property, does the owner of the property then how much do they receive for the use of their property?
Negotiation
It's
between them.
not, it's all up to the,
But, you know, some of that land, you know, up in North Canyon, probably not the best for development, so it's really better than.
Right.
Better than sitting on that.
usually the owner, the areas that they choose, the owners are thrilled to get a
Yeah.
lease or whatever off that land.
Yeah.
Cause it's,
Like out in the middle of Texas with a storage facility or a wind farm thing, yeah, they're happy. Cause the cows can still eat.
That's right. I think you have cooled off.
Oh, no, that's a different cow cooler, sorry.
Then, under number 7B, identify pros and cons. Yeah, that's our meat and potatoes, right?
Yeah.
That's our meat and potatoes of our work. Number 8, evaluate rate relief options from PUC rate study to see if pop-up options could help with rate relief, reduce costs of debt, or follow legislative efforts for CCE. See if there's any potential on that. That second one, I think, is part of our. Those are the two.
Yeah, and I moved that underneath the PUC study, because that's where the recommendation came from that.
That number 8 just ticks me off. It's kind of like they give more than what even Black Hills asked for.
Right, so but 8A, I think, is couples back up with 5 and 6.
Yeah.
Because that's almost seeking legislative relief for that, right? Is that what you were thinking?
Well, this is the recommendation that came out of the PUC report.
Yeah.
And they said that if the only way that you could really address that, and they didn't even know if you could, would be in a rate case. So whenever a rate case would come up, then that might be an opportunity you could reopen that if they possibly.
Gotcha, and so really that would be, we would want to act as a tripwire. Where if such a rate case came up, we would want to notify city council so that they have the opportunity to.
Yeah, and that might be like what you're saying is some of the other communities that are.
How about, are you planning to take a chair?
Yeah.
We'll do some community, some committee business. We'll get through that.
I think generally what you're talking about there is following, is intervening in the rate case when it comes up.
Yeah.
That, because that you're talking about a single item that's part of the larger process. And so you just want to intervene as a party.
And just.
And I think that's your recommendation to council, is you want to intervene in those things.
Okay. And then number 9, discussion with Black Hills to determine who franchise agreement will be presented for a vote. The different type of agreement to be developed. That's probably city council stuff. That's probably city council stuff. I mean, what we would hope is that our body of work would give council the basis for making such decisions.
Right. And these are, whether it's from whoever is gonna be doing these are, I think, very vital to have as far as what are the goals that you're looking at as far when you have Black Hills as the option. So whether it's the city council making those determinations or the energy committee, I think it's important to have a comprehensive overview of what the goals are.
And I don't mind that, and that sounds like maybe that we kind of make 2 sections to our report, the stuff that we think we should do, and things that we think city council shouldn't let slip off their foot.
So when we offered some sort of cooperative MOU, was it council that said not right now, or was it this body?
That was a council decision.
Okay,
Yeah.
I wasn't sure.
Yeah, oh no, we don't get excited.
Okay. I don't know if y'all, so Bob, I think are we good here?
We're good. I'll make some of these revisions then.
Okay,
And then the next meeting will have a little.
Don't leave, John.
Oh, I'm not.
I'll have a little summary of the Black Hills operation along with the goals.
sure. Sure.
Thanks.
Good as usual.
Tell you what, Bob, what we'll do is we'll go around the table and kind of introduce ourselves, so we know. who's here, if you don't know already, but I'm John Hammer. I'm Mayor Pro Tem for the City Council. I'm also Chair of the Kansas City Energy Franchise Committee, whose mission from the council is to work with the city and find solutions to current energy needs within the city. Look at very varying energy options and opportunities. And all of that in the context of energy costs, operations, and agreements. And so we're really kind of a fact-finding committee that is looking at the whole energy thing.
Yeah, I'm familiar with it too, so
Yeah,
I
okay.
follow what's going on.
Oh, great, so,
I understand what you're trying to do,
good.
trying to get John to lower his rates.
Yeah. In simple sentence, yes.
Only taken us 2 years to. Get it, no.
Brian Stevens, city administrator.
Doug Cohen, citizen committee member.
Also a honcho on some of the water ditches around.
Yeah.
Steve Andrews, retired energy consultant, live in the area.
John B. Hill, Community Affairs, Black Hills Energy.
Kathy Worthington, member of the committee and city council.
Kirk Souther, I'm retired, and I'm also on the city's planning commission, a member of the committee.
I'm only gonna say, we know each other, city council member and member of the energy.
I'm Carol Dunn, I'm a member of the committee and a retired, business person.
They used to have Hilltop Market.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah, 5
Used to shop
years we've been closed, I cannot believe
Hasn't been
that.
that long.
I still miss you.
I know, you, but I don't miss the work.
We go to Big D's at different.
There you go, that's the best place, my grandson works there, so.
Tell us a little bit about you.
Well, I'm, like Bob Stovall, I'm the Government Affairs Chair for the Railroad Chamber Alliance. I have a checkered past, most of which is not available on the internet.
Oh, God.
Relevant, here is, I'm Colorado native, I've been around for a long time, and I had family members that worked with Kathy at what was once
Public Service of Colorado. It has gone through several iterations since then. So I've known utilities for a long time. Then I've mostly been, I was a practicing lawyer, practiced for 18 years and wasn't getting any better, so I figured I better not practicing. But I've been involved in government activity for a long time. I worked for the state of New Mexico, city of Farmington, which had its own utility. So I'm familiar with their, followed legislative affairs, followed regulatory affairs, while I was working for the state of Colorado, state of New Mexico, with their Oil and Gas Conservation Commission, and we spent a couple of years in the deregulation, the 46 deregulation process at Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. And I got a scary lesson there when I realized that the federal government bureaucrats that were trying to deregulate natural gas did not even understand natural gas collection, production, collection and distribution. I could tell you a scary story that shocked 250 professionals when the FERC chief engineer made a statement, but I won't go into that.
That's for after we're
Still
doing.
there.
Yeah. It was frightening, but then I came back to Colorado, worked for Colorado Interstate Gas for a while. Most of my experience in utilities is in the gas side. I understand rate making. Briefly, actually, even tried to audit El Paso Natural Gas one time. A room this size full of documents. Realized how difficult that was. Worked for City of Colorado Springs for 8 years. Of course, they have their own utility. Deal much with any of the outside producers. I do understand rate making and utility operations and the evolution of it. So I don't know if that helps. So, you know, I don't need a lot of background instruction, just kind of need to get up to speed with what you're looking at. Sure. And John has given me this one pager on what you're talking about.
Well, that's part of it, but what, you know, what I think that we're interested in doing is maybe coordinating with the chamber. We think there's different opportunities available to us, and by us, I mean residents here in this area, both as chamber members and city council and on this committee, for different things that we might be able to work on together. The chamber in the past has had a legislative hour where we brought in our 3 representatives. We just have 2 now, we're down to 2.
Well, let me bring you up to speed to that. On February 4th, we will be starting that again at the county offices. We have invited our 2 legislators, and they will working with Kevin Grantham on that.
Great.
So we will be having a legislative hour. First one will be February 4th. I think the second is in March. Well, I can't remember what the date is, but Saturday. We're looking for an April date still, but yeah, March 4th, you're right.
Yeah. What
that's
time? Starting. like
11 o'clock.
11?
Oh,
At
good.
11.
So look
Better
forward
than
to-
Saturday,
Yeah.
and the Pueblo. Yeah, retired.
So those will be starting.
Good.
Great, that's great news and good to know that they'll. We're good, and so that's on Saturday, is that right?
It's on a Saturday, yeah.
Yeah. Great. Because it's a whirlwind up there, I mean, they're in session, there's.
Oh, I spent, I was also the chief lobbyist for City of Colorado Springs and spent, too many days up there.
Yeah.
Sorry, I got my back.
Oh, no, you're fine. It's all right.
But so the, you know, we think, let me put it this way. I believe this committee thinks that it would be in the best interest of the city of Canyon City if they were able to meet and discuss with our legislators various energy topics. So we think that there might even be ideas or concepts that may be useful to legislators. Because they will be likely considering, that the legislature directed the PUC to do a study. The PUC has done that, so now the ball is back in the legislature's court to either see if they can craft some legislation out of that study or not.
The community choice center.
Community choice centers. Yes. And so we think it would be wise if the city could get involved in that legislative process, really, as a committee. Now, the city council hasn't taken that action yet, but that's what we might be proposing to do something like that. And
Is this, let me interrupt you. I mean, I assume we're working with CML and going through, their process as far
not
as,
yet.
okay,
We're not.
because I think,
The city has not done that.
that's really gonna be the main vehicle for you.
Okay,
I don't know, and I don't know if maybe Ryan, if CML is focusing at all on this kind of issue.
Yeah, I attended the CML legislative update on Friday, and this topic did not come up yet, as part of bills that have been introduced early in the session yet. So I expect as the session develops, we make it more.
Well, CML did, when I was involved, they had, weekly meetings where representatives from the municipalities went up, and that's often where this stuff gets generated is, it comes from the cities, not to the CML. They don't take it to, the CML doesn't take it to the cities, like there's a push from the municipalities, so
yeah, that's true.
that's gonna be probably one of your strongest ways to,
Okay. Amplify your voice.
yeah, exactly.
Ooh, good.
Yeah.
Now, from the standpoint of and you're all familiar with the Royal Gorge Chamber Alliance as opposed to the Canyon City Chamber, right?
I would like a
Explain
definition.
that.
What they did is they rebranded what was the Canyon City Chamber. Created this thing called the Royal Gorge Chamber Alliance. The objective is that it will be an alliance, not just of Canyon City Chamber members, but of, the goal is to incorporate Penrose and Florence and reaching out to the west side, to Howard and Cotopaxi and other, so that it becomes more of a regional chamber group. A little bit of pushback in Florence, they're not right behind, and the goal is not to take over, but rather to.
Turf wars, huh?
Yeah, to gain strength from the regional alliance concept. We've got representatives from both Penrose and Florence on the board.
Oh, good.
Penrose is a little more active with us. We've had some business after hours over there. We found a business that wanted to sponsor one in Florence. We'd be happy to do it. But the idea is to get rid, and again, as I say, going west too, and smaller communities to the west. To give Fremont County a little bit bigger representation.
I think that's a good idea. It's just getting everybody's nose out of.
Yeah, well, yeah, you're changing things up, and that's always a challenge, and when you're the large municipality in a county. You've always gotta deal with the smaller ones,
And Florence has had their own challenges with all the council refinement.
Oh, God, yeah.
Creates a lot of turmoil, and now that they have a council, things may smooth out and,
It'll take a couple of years. for that,
relationship
though.
be established where it, people can perhaps see the benefits of a greater alliance.
But from a, I was asked to come on the board as the government affairs guy, since I've got a little bit of experience in it. And I think right now our role is mostly gonna be what you're talking about, is a facilitator of communication and ideas. I don't see us becoming strong advocates on our own. Again, we are going to, from a political perspective, probably operate through the Colorado Chamber, which Rich Miller is now on the board of the Now, I know they've got a couple of different things. One of it's kind of their board that's on there, brings in all the other chambers across the state, but basically he is in a part of that process with the Colorado Chamber, and they do the, someone who's been around a while, remember the old Casey, Colorado Association of Commerce and Industry, that is now the Colorado Chamber.
Oh, okay.
Casey has become the Colorado Chamber of Commerce.
They were always noticed that.
Well, they were, yeah, but they kind of, they just merged it together, so you didn't have that sort of separate identity. I discovered that, I just found that out recently, Emily, when I went to the went and started doing some checking to see which organizations which. Essentially, it's one now, so that's where we're gonna be, and of course, we have our senator and our representative are members of the minority party, so they're gonna have to find some allies. They're gonna carry it, and that's why I recommend, suggested CML. This is
We should at least ask CML to follow this in the legislature, the community choice energy issue.
I'd say keep good communication with CML. The other one, of course, is Action 22. Kathy's, John's familiar with it.
I'm a charter member of that.
And I was
Not a
on a
charter.
very early board.
Yeah.
Colorado Springs was a charter member, and I was representing.
Yeah,
Colorado
you were
Springs.
the interim chair for.
I was the interim
Executive,
CEO for a while, served as chair, so there are a variety of alliances, and I think that's the way to get things done.
Well, and I think it's
Political.
important to point out that many issues that we deal with as a city, and this is one of them, are not partisan issues. They're, it really should be.
They're businesses,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
but you still gotta play partisan politics when you do it, It's not who sponsors the bill and that sort of thing, yeah, so. So, I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
Yeah, no. Great, that's all really good information. So the, it's good to understand the Chamber Alliance's goals with the legislative hours. And there may be something at some point that we'd like to tag on with you guys or something.
Be happy to do it, we're doing the county, doing it with the county.
Yeah.
And, we talked to Kevin and the city, I would have no objection to the city joining with the county and hosting it.
Kevin might object.
Yeah,
We do have.
we just want to keep it simple though, I mean, basically, just
Absolutely.
he and I putting out a notice and opening the doors to the room.
We do have a bigger meeting. Don't forget that. Because we filled this before.
Absolutely.
This meeting.
Well, I think we can have that discussion, we're trying to get this stuff moving again, sure.
Yeah.
3-year hiatus. I don't want to take huge steps, but I'd be happy to,
Yeah. Okay.
and,
it makes so much sense to unite together. Because it's not an economic development turf issue, it's what we can do for everybody as a whole, and especially the existing businesses that are here, it's kind of like, let's make them stronger and still welcome others, and then let them join the chamber after they're here, but for the existing customers, it makes a lot of sense to work together,
Well, I think we've got some coincidence of interest here.
I think so too, it's just a matter of getting.
Yeah, so,
The challenge is always when you're getting multiple groups together, the logistics and.
absolutely.
Egos.
The dynamics.
Well, I think I may have communicated this by email to Bob, I can't remember, but my husband and I were the bipartisan co-chairs of the Summit Chambers Legislative Affairs Council for 5 years. And we, kind of like what you described, we didn't try to take positions on issues and get right in the middle of the sausage making, so to speak, but we did programmatic kinds of things, but also connect with elected officials on a lot of things.
Yeah, the bigger chambers tend to get involved, Metro Chamber, Colorado Springs, Pueblo. Get a little more, but we just don't have the bandwidth to do that.
Yeah, you really, if you do it, you want to have people that really dig deep in.
Well, you also have to be there, those of us who have been there, know you have to be there almost on a daily basis to see what happens. Yeah, I mean, I've gone onto the website several times and 600 bills trying to track them on paper.
Yeah. Wasn't there, who was it, wasn't it Stephanie Luck that was saying they said they needed a better process, either a less number of bills or a better process for them to be able to track them and there's no way they can all understand every one of them.
Well, just to give you an idea, when I was in New Mexico, I worked for an outfit that was before internet days. It's called, I can't remember the name of it, but basically, every night a bill was introduced. I stayed up till 3 in the morning publishing a printed copy and analysis of every single bill, amendment, vote, and have it in the lobbyist inboxes by 8 in the morning.
Holy moly.
I mean, that was, talk about tedious.
Yeah.
Talk about dedication.
That's right. That's
Onerous.
Now, I will say, I have not been on the Colorado Legislature website recently. I went on it again, and I was kind of, they have got an index where you can go in and look for bills by subject.
Oh, wow.
So you go, they've got a page where you can just go in and click on what subject do you follow.
Right.
And it's
much better than.
it is, yeah. It was tedious
And
before.
it gives you, it's very up to date in terms of the status of the bill, what committee it's in,
Almost immediate.
what's happening next, and it's really helpful for following anything.
That's the source material for everything else that happens, so.
And you did talk to the PUC.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yes.
I think theirs is the way they want it.
For the other day,
Oh, my.
you see website, it was like, the search. Yeah. It's pretty much better than that.
Well, sometimes you get too much information and it's hard to. How do you organize huge amounts of information? Anyway, we digress. What do you-
Sometimes we do that.
Yeah.
Well, great. So we are interested as a committee in interfacing with you guys more, and so we'll just. And we can, the CML suggestion, a great one. Well, I know.
CCI is also another way to get the county involved.
Yeah, if we can get some town. They, if they're not directly involved, they can not be involved.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the county, of course, I mean, how many, you got Black Hills, you got how many co-ops in the county? 3 or 4?
Just saying,
Just Sangre de Cristo.
Well, Sangre, no, Intermountains.
Core's got just.
Core's-
But they're not in the county.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, they are.
I just built a house on Fort. Yeah,
They're in this northwest corner of the county.
yeah, this is up a high road.
Mm-hmm.
So it's actually up, not so much, it was north central, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know they've got Woodlawn. Woodlawn's in their property.
So,
There's a whole lot of non-city residents in Fremont County who are like this.
yeah, right, like me.
Yeah.
yeah. Lincoln
And-
Park.
That's always been one of my main concerns too, is like, when, if whatever happens in the future, what the city decides to do as far as utility provider, one guy on one side of the street's gonna get one rate, and the guy on the other side of the street's gonna get another rate, because he's in the county. So,
Is Florence on Black Hills?
Yes.
oh, yeah,
Okay.
They have a franchise.
yeah.
Penrose.
Yeah.
Penrose is on ours. They don't have a
They're
franchise.
not city,
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand that, but I'm just looking
Yeah,
at
sir.
communities and how far west do you go?
Here.
So, well, West Cliff,
Okay,
I mean, that's kind of our, I think our furthest point west. I think West Cliff's a little further than here.
so obviously, it goes beyond the county, what happens is.
Oh, it's-
Yeah, we go as far north as Teller County, so we're up in Victor and Cripple Creek, and then as far east as Ordway in the outskirts of Rocky Ford.
But the other way to say that, from our parochial perspective, is that there really are, they're the only electric energy provider within city limits. is Black Hills.
Right, yes. So now you gave me this.
That's just my personal.
Okay, okay.
It's so personal, we don't.
Well, I want to pull it then.
Actually, I handed it out last time.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, I'll bet, yeah.
But, so, but that's something to be explored by this committee. We haven't done it yet.
Okay.
Um,
I should have folded a piece of paper. You would have wrote it.
yeah, it is. Okay. Let's see if we got anything else that we need to talk about or.
So Bob, you may have said, and I missed it, is there actually a committee work that you're working with, or so far is it you, it's government affairs?
So far, it's me, and that's not a power grab on my part, it's more, I hate to form committees and then not have a mission for a committee to perform.
Yep.
I think one of the hardest things to do, and I think we see this in Rotary, we see this in a lot of things. And sometimes it's easier just to go do it than to try to get 6 people to do it.
I can't believe how big your board is, Rotary.
Oh,
It's,
It's not that big.
no, it's not that big.
Yeah,
It's pretty
big.
small. You're thinking that.
well, I'm thinking about when you're having lunch in the next room and I'm over there.
Oh, those aren't all.
Oh, okay.
Half buttons are.
Oh, okay, I feel better then. 'Cause I thought, man.
Who has the big board? Is that?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, yeah.
That's
I couldn't believe it
because
when I read that list. here.
Right.
that's the way they're organized.
So I guess from. What do you need next? I mean, other than the legislative day? I think if you can get me some information, you can feed the legislators and help them prepare. You know, the issues of question and.
We would, I mean, I don't know quite how to formulate this, but I think we'd like the chamber, whether it's board or whoever, to just be a little more aware of what the city's been working on for a year and a half, looking at.
Yeah.
Utility issue. And, you know, we might figure out something like how, if or how we want to communicate directly with legislators.
Well, picking up on that, Emily, you know,
I
really,
noticed that's in your little list here.
yeah, picking up on that, really what, you know, part of our charter or mission from the city is really to work on the energy issues here that affect the citizens and provide some context and understanding of those things. Maybe it would be good for us to make a presentation to the Chamber of Commerce Alliance there at some point about just what we've done, just information
Yeah,
to say, hey, here we are, here's stuff we're doing and FYI, and don't forget rates, everybody pays rates, whether they're a business or not, you know?
well, I think that fits under number one right there too, is it's another means of communicating and especially to the citizens and a lot, you know, and chamber members are usually pretty involved in this, the community, and so I think it would be good for them to have an update.
I don't see that, I don't see that as being outside of our charter.
I don't
It's something that we could do on our own violation, to say, hey, let's.
Let me give you 2 easy opportunities.
Okay,
The first is business after hours.
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
At every business after hours, we invite, Rick Harmon is usually there on behalf of the city, he's talking economic development stuff. We usually have, often one of the county commissioners is there discussing stuff. But basically, every business after hours, we have a business session, and I think that would be an excellent opportunity to have ongoing updates. to
That is a
that.
good idea.
Mhm.
The second thing would be board meetings, at every board meeting. Which I don't know when they're formally gonna be, right now, they're on the, I think, 3rd Friday at 7 o'clock in the morning. I actually managed to get up for that, so. We invite everybody from local government. Again, Rick usually represents the city. You have a county commissioner there, COG. You know, local entity, give a brief 2 or 3 minute update to the board.
That would be really good.
That would be good.
Those are held at the Hive.
Oh,
And the
Yeah, bring
So what I will do is, if you would like to do that, I will let Brian Conti, the current board chair, know that you would like, in addition to Rick's presentation, that you would like to be a part of that.
I think that's a good idea. Rick isn't frequently involved with this particular
No, his
issue.
mission's entirely different. than
Oh,
what you're
yeah.
trying to do.
And,
So we just missed,
You just missed one.
we just missed one.
and business after hours is,
So,
The next one is going to be the annual banquet
oh,
in February.
right.
so
So,
you won't have. Oh, okay.
but I wouldn't, again, you know, if you wanna, if you're gonna be there, feel free to
Yeah,
talk to
yeah.
folks.
Well, tell you what we'll do, because we'll have some committee meetings between now and the next board meeting. Well, let's take that as an action item for us. That we'll see if we can't put together a presentation or something that, you know, even just 3 to 5 minutes
Yeah.
to as an introductory type thing, because I think that there may be some, you know, there, for sure, I know there's gonna be chamber members interested in what we're doing. And just a way to open communications.
I think you gotta use every channel you can, I think.
Sure.
You know, again,
Yeah.
speaking to the various service clubs.
This board does still have an open seat for a business.
Yeah, we do.
So
Recruitment, we should do it as well. Thanks, sir.
Yeah, Brian, oh, so good.
Yeah, you probably wanna be,
Huh?
target who you like, type of business
That's true.
you wanna get on here.
Somebody who pays big bills.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, but somebody who's also, who understands, I mean, you know, you ask a
Oh, sure.
retail antique store or something to come in and try to understand electric generation and distribution, there might be a bit of a challenge. I'm not picking on the retail. They do.
They don't- But they know what they pay, yeah. I mean, Mel's Mill, I was talking to someone there 2 weeks back and they moved because they had such high utility costs at one location. Now they're downtown and what I was told is, oh, it's much better here.
Yeah.
So they're very aware of what they're paying now.
They're aware of the bill, but you gotta understand what goes into that bill, and that's the heart.
So there's opportunity for discussion there. We do have an open board, we do have an open seat on this committee that, from the business, and so the chamber was interested, but the first step is to make a presentation to your board and, you know, let the board, do what they want to do with that, and, you know, maybe there's something that we can do together or not, but I know there are things we can do. So
Well-
we're interested in communicating, but nothing else.
Maybe the chamber potentially occupy that seat where they represent more than
It could.
one business. I mean, I just- No, I think it would probably have to be a board member for,
Yeah.
no, Rich does not need another meeting.
Who are the board members, you know, the members?
So, go to the RGCA website and you can find them.
Yeah.
But I can also discuss it with the board and see
Sure.
what
Absolutely.
their thoughts would be as far as who they. But again, being in that, so that seat doesn't just represent one particular industry or
Yeah.
business.
Yeah,
sure.
That's
Yeah,
good.
That's what
Very good.
Is FEDC at all a part of this?
not this.
No,
They don't, I don't, so they've got an executive committee. But they kind of have a different focus. You know, what we do or what we hope to accomplish would definitely affect economic development opportunities within the area, but that's a possibility. I mean, we could always ask Rob Brown.
I mean, I bet Love's is gonna be more, come one of Black Hill's bigger customers
Yeah.
oh, yeah.
another year.
Yeah.
That's an FED, so, you know, I can bring it up at the board, or
Actually,
if you'd like to, you know, come to the next, I'll talk to Brian and.
okay,
So Love's is in the city, right? So was it FEDC or was it Rick and you guys? I mean, as
Yes.
far as bringing that, so
yes, there were lots there.
I would think there would be.
There was a prospector there, which was really FEDC, they were the first contacted. They got Loves in touch with everybody they needed to get in touch with to make a good.
So was it
Even
George?
CDOT.
We
won't go there.
That's where we stepped in.
And step on. They make you look good.
Please mention that to your board, we like, let's count on us, try to make the March. Your March board meeting.
Well, you can make a February board meeting.
Oh,
That's the.
we have a board.
That's not the,
Not the band.
that's replacing the business after hours.
Okay.
Oh,
The banquet is, it's not replacing the board meeting.
Did you say
Oh.
first?
Third.
I said
Third.
third, I think, that, I mean, that's what we did this time. It
Third
changed.
Monday, I thought you said.
Right.
Right? Oh, my dang.
Our last board meeting was last week, which is the third Friday.
Yeah.
meeting.
Okay.
Village stayed there, we're not sure, I mean, Brian's looking at different,
Since
different times, but,
So what's that to bring?
5 o'clock in the morning.
they make coffee.
Okay.
In other words, yeah.
If you want food, yes, bring your own.
So for agenda next time, can I suggest that we get together some questions or topics that we want to hit at the legislative hour? I think that might be.
I was gonna suggest that if you will feed to me.
Yeah.
And a couple of you have my email, so.
So you're
Some
the
questions,
moderator of
I will be the moderator of that, and we will. Give the legislators a heads up that this is a topic of discussion.
Mhm.
Oh, man. Okay. So we're probably gonna have to do this via email.
But I don't think you want to make it too I think you want to basically get them. Aware. of
Raise
the
our
issue.
hand and say,
It's up to
hey,
you.
we're here.
I don't think you want to bring them the
Yeah.
bill yet.
Right,
Yeah.
This group doesn't meet again until February 13th.
yeah.
Okay. Oh, well, that's okay, because so they're gonna have a board meeting and the dinner that same day?
No, the board meeting.
So we'll do that way.
I know, but I mean, so you have a 7 o'clock board meeting and then that night's the dinner, isn't that the 17th?
Oh, is that?
Yeah, so I just,
Well, I didn't look at the calendar.
yeah, so I was just curious to.
Okay, we'll get it after.
Unless they change the board meeting. yes,
17th
that would
is,
be the case.
February 17th is the banquet, chamber banquet.
Where's that gonna be at?
Pathfinder.
Reminder again.
Oh, that's right.
I assume the city's probably gonna have a table, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're seeing how many council members are coming.
Is that full yet? So I haven't responded.
We'll
If you
see.
could respond.
Cause I know Cindy wanted it today, I think, so I thought I'd stop.
We'll see.
Yeah. I probably better go. Only Jerry will be glad to get after the.
Okay. Cool. Great.
Well, Bob, if you have any ideas now or in the future about just this communication between the chamber and the city, whether it's on energy issues or anything else. We wanna.
Well, as I thought, when you and I talked, I sort of designated you as the city representative to the
You
government
did.
affairs. We talked on the phone on that.
Oh, we traded emails, but
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, if you have a committee, I'm happy to be there.
yeah, as I say, at this point, I just am not gonna try to form a committee and then say, well, now what do we do?
Right.
Yeah, that's.
My father has a barn, let's have a committee meeting.
I go.
But yes, consider yourself, I mean, the same role that Kevin is playing as far as interacting, and we're happy to do things in conjunction with the city as well. As I explained, and I think, I tried to tell Emily, and if I failed, bad on me, but government affairs is not, we changed the name from legislative affairs to government affairs.
Makes sense.
Because the legislature meets for 120 days a year. and does stuff so fast that you guys in the county do just as much damage as the legislature.
Well,
does.
and we spend the rest of the year picking up the pieces.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, what was it the other night? Ashley said, is that another unfunded mandate? About the water stuff.
So I think, you know, it's a matter of keeping us informed. And basically, as I say, to me right now, until I can really define what the committee is. We're moving pretty fast on that. I mean, the chamber this year has done incredible stuff. They have, I don't know if you're all familiar, they have changed, completely restructured the membership structure.
Oh, really?
You know, chambers used to be, traditionally it was based on number of employees or number of seats in your restaurant or whatever. You now decide what level you want to be at.
Oh,
So Black Hills can come in at $195 if they want to, and Lori Leonard and her three businesses have come in at one of the highest levels. You know, so we've got small businesses that are paying $1,500 and big ones that are paying $195. So it's based on what you want, what you want to contribute,
Yeah.
and what benefits you see out of it, so.
And you can come in as an individual member.
Yes.
Correct,
That's
yes.
what you are, and I have been for so.
Yeah, and well, my wife and I changed, she was an individual member because the next tier up was so expensive for our two-person retired business, but when they changed this thing, we were able to come in under our corporate name for just a few dollars more. So,
Yeah. Good.
very beneficial in terms of membership for.
yeah.
Right.
Now if we can just find another office people that will give us discount free.
I was trying to say, I was gonna say to Gavin. Oh, gosh.
I heard a new tire store's going.
Oh.
I'll go put that out on next door. I love it.
Another story, and this is from in our last business after hours at World's End. Apparently, there was some discussion that he was gonna try to open a brewery there.
Oh, really?
They want, that's, who does it then? Didn't they?
Oh, really, at office?
Yeah.
Is that just a?
Now, I got this secondhand.
Restaurant does first.
Yeah.
And then you can send all your work for your menus and everything out.
Yeah.
That would be great.
I haven't, but I go for it, so.
That's a good one too, I like that.
They're kind of dangerous though, you know, and oh my God.
I have to show my ignorance. Who is Lori and what
Story
story?
Leonard,
She owns.
she owns the
Give Chateau.
Gift Chateau
Okay.
and the salon.
Whatever.
The salon.
Oh, okay,
And
sure. I
then,
know.
then she has the window cleaning service.
And
Okay,
they
now
were
I'm
each
on.
individual
Yeah.
members.
Yeah.
Separate
Okay.
members, they now combine it.
Okay.
Can you just log on?
Oh,
Sure. Sure.
Right.
Bye, guys.
We'll be here in person tomorrow.
You'll be here in person?
Yep.
Perfect. We'll be down here.
Quick question for you on, when you're
Thanks,
hearing on
Ryan.
the outside, you know, you keep reading about the gas ranges and all that stuff, and what are they gonna do about restaurants where they usually cook with gas? Are they talking about them too?
No, I have not been following that as
I
well.
was just curious to know if you heard anything on your end or not.
And that's only for new construction, isn't it?
At the moment, yes. But it could be when you go to replace something, they can always pull that crap on it too.
I think that was way ahead, I mean.
Yeah.
The big guy opened his mouth and said he was gonna get rid of gas stoves, but I don't think that's,
That's not right.
Denver, however, I heard Denver is.
Denver's really into it.
construction.
Yeah.
Sure, keep it up there.
Well, but the.
So they passed building codes. Yeah,
Yeah.
shove them down the throat.
Yeah,
Because Denver, the city of Denver and the state of Colorado are collaborating on building codes for electrification purposes.
yep.
And so it is not just the city of Denver that's going to be facing electrification, it's going to be the whole state through building codes. And they have put on my sarcastic hat here, but they have a couple of young gals that are running both. The representatives for both are getting together, coming up with all these great ideas. who have never held a job out in the world, and turned a shovel full of dirt over, and don't have any
Now
idea
they're
what they're
turning
talking
the shovel and
about,
others to
that are making these rules. And one of the rules that they have passed on the code side, building code side of things, is that once we pass a rule, you can never change. the rule.
Oh, that's bullshit.
There you go. We don't need that.
We don't need sunsets. We don't need any better thinking in an hour or two.
You're making my case for me here.
Oh, I'm just sarcastic too.
How many people here are old enough to remember in the 1970s when natural gas power plants were banned, you had to build coal plants if you were a utility?
Well, and builders had to go on a waiting list. I can remember, I started full-time with public service in 1973. Just when they started the gas attachment program, and you had to wait for a tap. And my first big check was from Wood Brothers Builders for $250,000 just to get so many houses on a waiting list to get natural gas. And then there was a builder out in Jefferson County who's put in coal furnaces. But what was good is then when natural gas became, then the switchover was really easy. But it's like, here you have this guy, and I can't, he was he didn't build very many houses, but it was like, holy crap,
Don't you just know those two ladies walk home with a huge smile on their face? Look what I did.
Yeah. Well,
The Gold Medallion Home Program, do you remember that? It was all electric homes, Gold Medallion.
yeah,
Home.
exactly.
And I think the gas moratorium extended into the eighties. I don't believe it was,
I think you're right.
I don't think it was nixed and, or done away with in the seventies or modified.
Well,
I think it was under
well,
Reagan.
Started in the 70s.
Yeah, it started and it ended in the eighties.
I
During the
can
Reagan
remember one
administration.
of my cohorts stood up in the meeting with the big bosses and stuff. Is this Chinese fire grill gonna go on much longer? And it was like, this was the old time of, oh my God. And it was like, and it was all there at the at the wellheads as to where they created it, because they capped them to say, we want the price to go up.
Yeah.
Well, my real simple
50
story.
years
is
later.
Commission, they were trying to define what was gathering system and what was transmission. And the engineers said, we're just gonna draw a circle around the producing basin. Everything inside the circle is a gathering system,
Oh,
including the huge processing plant with the 10-foot diameter pipes coming out.
Isn't that amazing?
oh.
Well, anybody want to go help Suncor get back up online, Star Gas? Yeah, I read, that was really interesting to read that they are the #1 producer of asphalt in Colorado. And it was like, I never thought of asphalt as being a byproduct, but it makes all the sense in the world.
Bottom of the barrel.
Exactly. It's scraped, use it, maybe.
Yeah.
So it was interesting to.
Well, one of the things when I was working in the oil fields is one of the real risks is on natural gas wells. There's liquid gasoline is a byproduct, and you had folks going out at night tapping into the tanks and filling their tanks directly out of the well.
And isn't it the same thing as gasoline, this liquid?
Well, some of those, but they were doing
They
it.
were, it's not the same stuff.
Live transformer and gather in, they only put once.
On occasion, you get somebody, go drill into a 9 PSI
Oh,
gas line.
Yeah.
Get free gas.
all over them.
Yeah, I'm talking about the natural gas.
Yeah,
Line.
yeah.
Utility, the best way to find out somebody who was cheating the system, either with tapping into the electricity or a gas line that was on the utility side, was the ex-wife suddenly.
The obituary column.
Hey, tell you what, we can continue this discussion.
But you're
We're adjourned.
All right. Thanks for coming, Bob.
Sure.